those who are debating about the forest plains divide in India. The forest plains divide in India occurred because the British came and divided the line between the forest people and the plains people. Otherwise, there was no division among them at all. This is not I am saying. This is the first committee appointed by the government of India in 1962. It is one of the most erudite reports by U.N. Deva. He was the chief minister of the Saurashtra region, and then he became the Congress president. And one of the most erudite reports on the forest and hills people, and of course they were called tribals at that time, was by U.N. Deva, who said that from the days of Ramayana to Mahabharata, there is always an exchange of people between the forest and the plains. And the plains people, when they were fed up with the ordinary happenings of the world and wanted to acquire greater thought and enlightenment, used to go to the forest. In fact, Bharat's father, Bharat is the person after whose name the country itself is named. He gave the kingdom to his son and went to forest for enlightenment. So forest was a place of enlightenment, was a place of contemplation. That is why these Upanishads were called Aranyakas, Book of Forest. And who says this? Indira Gandhi Cultural Center. What is that? IGMCA. And it is not in this period, it was during the period of UPA, it brought out a beautiful paper. How our Upanishads are called Book of Forest. They emanated from forest because it required such contemplation and peace for people to connect with the cosmos, to reveal the truth, which is the plains people need. It's actually the plains people use the knowledge from the Aranyakas, and the use of the Aranyakas in the plain area was called Brahmanas. That for the modern science, the problems are to be found in the book of the forest, which emanated in the mind of the forest people. I have told many people, have you ever examined this issue? Actually, this came because how our mind gets locked in issues, which if you see from a helicopter perspective, they are not issues at all. But if you see it on the ground, they will be issues. Simple. One Dr. Bhagwati, who was the Vice Chancellor of Gauhati University, he was an anthropologist. So when I was addressing a meeting I was saying that the forest and plains distinction in India is wrong. This was brought about in the Western perspective. The forest people are backward. The backwardness was created by you guys. You prevented the forest people and plains people from interacting with each other, and for 300 years they remained there, you remained here, and the divide was a developmental divide. It was not a cultural or civilisational divide. For example, the forest people also have Kumbh Mela. How can they have Kumbh Mela unless they had interacted with the plain people in this Kumbh Mela? And there is a mirror reflection everywhere. But things moved a little faster in the plain areas because of their interaction among themselves, because of their communication, transport, their interaction with the outside world. Things changed in 200 years, that change did not take place in the forest. And so that is the physical divide, developmental divide in certain areas. So I was explaining all this. Then Dr. Bhagwati stood up and asked, Mr. Gurumurthy, I want to ask you a question which has been agitating my mind for a long time, because he was an anthropology expert. He asked me, how do you explain that only in plains you have this Dharmashastras? In forest there is no Dharmashastra. Does it not mean that forest people were outside the plains understanding of the world? I said, sir, it doesn't look like that. I will tell you what is my explanation. Dharmashastras were required only when human beings deal with human beings. And human beings live with nature. Nature decides the rules of life. You don't need a Dharmashastra. January 2015, the Narendra Modi government in its resolution to constitute the Niti Ayog said that we will develop a Bharatiya model for development and we will do only what works in and for India. We were 10 years behind. So we need a completely different perspective that our forest and hills people and we were separated by a 300-year divide. Before that, there was no difference between the forest and hills people. We respected them for being in forest, working with nature, contemplating, and that is what was helping the plains to on its drive. This was the difference between the Aranyaka literature and the Brahmana literature. And all these notions, these practices, this scholarship was destroyed. Because living in towns and good surroundings with air condition and going in car was considered to be civilized. This wrong Western notion completely brought down the edifice of our own relationships. Our relationships were never based on any standard. It was based on intense understanding of human life. And that is what sustained us for 5,000 years. And there have been civilizations which have come and gone. As Swami Vivekananda said, that if you want to know what is Greek or Roman civilization or Egyptian civilization, you have only the broken monuments in which you have to search for it. But in India, 5,000 years before, if something happened and some people were like that, you can even today find some such people. This continuity is because we were not attracted or defined or differentiated by externals. Externals never constituted the core of the Indian understanding about itself. Much deeper human contemplation which took place in forest, for which people went to forest, for which the literatures were named as Aranyakas. So we must first tell the forest people that you are the ones who educated us. It is not the other way. This understanding is needed. This is what I discussed with Dr. Bhagavati. And my own understanding about how our relationship with not only the forest people, even with our villages, we don't have a good relationship. We think they are backward, they are countrymen, they are uneducated. You see, this differentiation based on externals is an import into India. So, I have been pleading for a civilisational approach to the forest and hills people of India. In fact, after all this, I even wrote a small research paper. And fortunately, it has been accepted by our own anthropological group. I have been discussing with them for the last 8-9 months. And about 150 copies of this book is available, and all of you must go through it because it contains most of the points which I have spoken, and of course, much deeper thoughts are in it. It has been a very wrong journey during the colonial period. And it was continued for at least 50-60 years, and we are trying to reverse it. All these developments are necessary. I am not saying development and empowerment, all these modern terminologies have a role to play. But more important is the civilizational paradigm. In fact, in Vivekananda Kendra, an exercise has begun. Vedas were not a language. It was not based on script. It was a sound. It was captured into script. For the first time, Vedas were written in writing only in Krishnadevaraya's period, just 400 years, 300 years back. Till then, it was not in writing. Vedas were sounds handed down from generation to generation, from the Shishya, from the Guru to the Shishya. The same tradition is there in Northeast even today. And there is no mechanism by which the sounds of Vedas, their Vedas, all are ultimately sound. Now, the wave theory has established that one of the starting points of the universe was sound. Siksham kya syamaha. Sound was the medium by which the entire creation took place. And that is why Vedas were considered to be great. You don't understand the Vedas, but they contain ultimate truth. This is what the scientists say. The same is the case with the tribal Vedas or the forest people's Vedas. And so in Vivekananda Kendra, the local people came to us and said, "Sir, our Vedic sounds are dying." So what we did in the plain areas, it was a Guru Shishya Parampara, father teaching the son. Even today that is called Niyamadhyayana, that is called the best. But that has gone. Or it is collapsing. So we established Veda Padashalas. Veda Padashala is a secondary method of imparting knowledge of Vedas. The sound of Vedas. It is not from the father to the son. It now has got transformed from Guru to the Sishyas. We suggested to them, the only way you can do it is just as the plains people have replaced the Niyama Adhyayana by Veda Padashalas, you have to establish the Veda Padashalas. I don't know whether any of you have come from Arunachal Pradesh. There are 4 Veda Padashalas running. And you see the students too. And I think it must be, if you have a video, I think you must put the video on for these people to know how their tradition can be, because there is no written script. It's only the sound. It's only the level of consciousness which works at that sound. That has to be kept surviving, for which these Veda Padashalas are being started. This is the civilisational approach. You can be anybody.